excited to teach this class, and I told him I was a little bit nervous. I don't know why I'm a little. I think it's because. Okay. So good.
I'm going to actually just give you a little shout out first.
Okay.
Ultimately, the funny thing is, I'm surprised this is like one of our smaller groups every month when it really is it's the one thing I look forward to, because you get to hear from top media investors who are just doing unique strategies to grow their loan. Angie's been a great example of that. Not only is she one of the top producers in the state, but she also has been very intentional about building her investment portfolio over the years. And so we're excited to hear from her on a strategy that has built amazing passive income and long-term wealth for Angie. And hope you guys can pick 2 or 3 things that you can go install into your own wealth building plan. So go ahead and give a hand for Angie.
Yay! See, I'm not nervous now. I'm super excited about it. And honestly, when I started at KW, my husband and I only owned, we had our single family house and 1 duplex. And over the years now, we've been able to build our investment portfolio to where now we have two fourplexes, 3 duplexes, 3 townhouses, our single family home, and an apartment in our basement. And this concept gets me so excited. It's something that we teach a lot of our people in our database, because we paid our first home off not while I was selling real estate, but while I was working at a restaurant, and my husband just worked at the city. So I know it works. And so I feel like people they underestimate the value of paying down debt. I'm not a Dave Ramsey crazy person or anything though. So, but I want to know a couple of things as we get started. Isn't he so cute? Why did you guys make it here today? And we've only got an hour, so we've got to pick up the pace through the whole thing. But I really want to know, why did you guys make it into the room today? Take the mic, pass it around. I don't know if they're recording it, but.
I love everything money, so wanted to come for wealth. Do I have to talk about my superpower too?
Not yet.
Okay.
Why'd you come today?
Just here to learn. Education never hurts.
Awesome. So good.
For you, Angie.
That was nice.
We get to hang out together. It'll be so fun. You're Angie too.
Just hear other people's strategies and learn from that and try and incorporate that. And I also love to teach my adult children. So learning new things, I love to pass that on to help them in this very difficult economy to own homes and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, honestly, this is a happy accident. I just didn't get up fast enough. But I am very excited to learn about this.
Right place, right time.
I'm an investor as well, and so I always love to hear other people's takes and what other people are doing. I'm sure I can implement a lot of what you do. So,
That's awesome. I'm so excited.
I love to learn. And if I take away one gem from a class, even just one thing, it was totally worth it.
You know, one of the great things my mom taught me early on in life is that knowledge is the one thing you don't lose. People can't take it from you. You might lose money, you might lose your house, but at the end of the day, if you take the time to learn, you know that, and it's yours. There's so much value in knowledge.
Yeah, my name is Angie as well, so and yes, I'm just here to learn, so thank you.
So good. Now, the next part of this is, you guys, I want you to take, do we have enough people? Are we even? Get on in here. Come in. Anywhere's good, but you have to be in the circle. I will yell at you if you're in the back row. So, I want you to take a minute, introduce yourself, your name to your neighbor. So pair up in twos. And then I also want you to share, I even have a Sharpie. I want you to share what your superpower is and how it relates to money. You get one. So I just want you to introduce yourself to your neighbor and let them know what your superpower is and how it relates to money. And you guys, we have 30 seconds to do it. Do we have enough people to make that happen? Am I counting right? Or 3 of you guys somewhere have to come in together? Thanks, Ben. It's nice to see you. The clock is ticking, though. So introduce yourself. What's your superpower, and how does it relate to money?
So that's nice.
And if you haven't, you're going to need to switch. When you both have gone, raise your hand so I know that we're moving along. It's a good group. Okay, so when you're all done and you both have gone, raise your hand. But now you got to tell the group about your friend.
Oh, okay. Well, got it.
Okay.
Shoot.
She is
She is
Holly.
Holly. Yes. And Holly she is a budgeter, and she has that amazing ability to be able to find deals on everything that she buys, which is totally a superpower. That is.
There was a meme on Facebook the other day that said, I can't, when I'm a millionaire, I'm going to do stuff like buy raspberries when they're not on sale. I sent it to my mom, and I was like, guess what's in my fridge? I have raspberries. Because as a kid, she was so careful with every dollar, for sure. So cool. Congratulations, Holly. Do you know about Michelle? Do you know her superpower?
I do.
Okay.
Her superpower is that she has a very good imagination.
I love it. Vision.
Yes, vision.
Vision.
So she's trying to capture vision with her action, right? Is a good way to put it.
And lives in Eagle Mountain, if I remember right. Awesome. Who wants to go next? Tell me about your friends. Okay.
This is Andrew, and his superpower, it's a great one. He's willing to do what it takes. Like, he's not afraid to prospect. He's not afraid to knock on doors. And one of his specialties is off-market purchases. He finds things.
I love that.
Haven't even hit them on.
That is not my superpower.
I'm a grandma, so I'm good for you.
It's awesome.
4 of the 5 properties I bought were off market.
Very cool. Tell me about your friend.
So this is Shauna, right?
Yeah.
Shauna, okay. And her superpower is that she is always focused on the needs of others and how can she help other people, which we all know that clients feel that. You know,
Mhm.
you feel that when you're focused on them. And they'll refer you to their friends, and they will be lifelong clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A big family.
Her
That's
husband
awesome.
believes in her so much he quit his job 6 years ago and is now working with her. So
Oh, that's so cool.
Didn't want him to quit. The answer was no, because he was at Huntsman Cancer Institute. He had a great job, but he did. We're doing it. He's back working.
Sometimes, they say that what makes a really good real estate agent is what makes a really good real estate agent is a great W-2 employee spouse. Yes, right? That's reality. Who's going next? Ben, tell me, what's his superpower?
Is that he's really good at being stingy, but it could be kryptonite if you're on vacation and you should splurge a little bit, then it's kind of hard, but being stingy is actually a good superpower.
I call that frugal.
Yeah.
How about Angie? What did you find out about her?
Angie's the opposite. She's not stingy.
Lives life to the fullest. So I recently have been reading the book Die with Zero. It is the opposite of what we're talking about today, but it's a really good book. It's helped me think through a lot of things. And one of the results is I'm going to Alaska with my parents in August making changes on where my money's going right now. So fun. How about this side of the table? Cameron? No worries. That's why I made him write it down. Cam. Cam
is very process driven. He's very can think of the processes, very analytical. That's his superpower. He's a thinker.
That's awesome. How about for Jocelyn?
Jocelyn? She is a grower, so she can just grow and learn to do anything, be uncomfortable for anything.
Oh, I love that. What was this? How'd this go?
Spencer is like a good budgeter and super smart with money, and I cannot think of one superpower that has to do with money that I have,
Jen,
except for spending.
which is a great superpower if you do it right.
I bet.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I'll tell my husband.
Yeah.
I bet you, if you've ever done your strength finder, I bet one of your superpowers, so my number one strength is activator. I bet it's up there for you. Activator means you're just going to go do it. You don't have the answers. You haven't analyzed it. You feel it right here and you'll go do it. That's also why you're so much better at your job than I was, is because I didn't have the processes. I just would go do it. I'd be like, we're supposed to get everybody into a room and get them together. This is how we're going to do it, which also means I'm really strong in relating significance. I want to make an impact where I can. Context and perspective is one of my biggest strengths, which also means I feel usually. I feel for tenants. Sometimes I feel for people. I feel as we go through it. And I really just want to live a life of harmony. I don't like conflict, which is also why, like, we're in the process of moving our investments. I have a lot of conflict in Ocala right now in Florida. I am looking to release that and make less conflict in my life. But what we realize is there's also other people. You guys all have partners, and it's likely, this is my partner, Matt, been married 23 years now. And the reason I bring him up is he's opposite to me. He is an analyzer. So he analyzes like crazy and would never make an offer on a property. And I would make the offer on the property without analyzing it. So together we work together to get to the other side. So it's a really nice balance. Matt actually was the original member of Team Fischer Homes. He got his license before I did and wanted to save money on taxes. So the first, it was back before we bought our first investment property, we went to the tax accountant and we didn't get the child tax credit that year. And I mean, I paid $5,000 or $6,000 a year for my child to go to daycare, and my husband's working, I work full time, and we didn't qualify for the child tax credit. And the same girl that works for me takes her daughter to the same daycare and she doesn't pay anything. And so we left there. We asked him, what should we do? And he was like, you should look at investing in real estate. And that's really what started it, is we were tired of paying taxes. So super great guy. He is actually so smart. When we started this concept, I actually was a little nervous because I would find all these napkins and papers around my house with tons of numbers on them. And it's because he was analyzing which way would pay it down faster. Should we pay this card or that card? Should we pay this or that? It was a little like Rain Man. Like, it was a little weird, but so good. You're going to see like 7 of these. These are my disclaimers. I am not an accountant. I am not, an attorney, an accountant, a financial advisor, a broker, a mortgage professional, none of those things. Also, we're going to use cowboy math today. I know that you're going to know I'm off $1.50. I get it. We're just going to round. It's just going to be concepts, and I want you guys to think about things differently in the way we think about money. And I also want to give a big thanks to Ron Karen. So we paid $3,000 to learn how to work with this concept. The value of that is I put money into it. So we were stinking committed to the process. And I am just really grateful for him. Some of the other things have come from other blogs like that. This is a class I teach my database. So I just cleaned it up for what today looks like. Now you guys are all in the business, so you already know how the basics of mortgage payments work. Yes, come on in, guys. I love that it's full. You guys might get all split up. That's the best part. Oh, this is a big team. Come on in. I'm just going to slide this stuff over. Come on over. Somebody make them get name tags.
Want us to like spread this out?
Sure. Bring in a table. I believe in all of you. You can do whatever.
Are they good there?
Sure. As we got a time frame too, so I got to make sure I'm being wise with my minutes that we have. Okay, so 30-year mortgage. What do we know about that?
They're heavily interest loaded on the front end.
Absolutely. So you are going to pay most of your mortgage at the front side, and it's the same payment every single month, but it's going to be amortized, and it's really heavy on interest up front. And it's typically around year 20 before we call it the break-even spot, where 50% of your payment goes to interest and 50% goes to principal. It takes 20 years. crazy. And that's maybe 22 now with what interest rates look like today. Now, the thing is we've been conditioned to stay in debt, right? We've been conditioned that 0% down at RC Willey is a really good deal. And that if you have $20, you can take the dirt bike off the lot or the side-by-side or whatever that looks like. We've always been told that your house is good debt, right? You get a tax write-off. That's good debt. That's not bad debt. Oh, go back. We also things like you earned it. You worked really hard. You went to law school or medical school. You deserve to have the big fancy house or have the toys or have the boat, have all of this stuff. So it's just like our mindset around it. And I'm going to just speed through these because they were in there and I figured we just hit them. So we go through 5 other strategies. You guys probably already know them. You can just pay extra principal. It's good for you. Every dollar counts on your 30-year mortgage. You can get a 30-year mortgage and treat it as if it's a 15. You go ahead and just pull an amortization chart for a 15-year mortgage so that we know what our payment would be to make that happen, and you just pay it on your own without feeling committed to it. Make bi-weekly payments. Things about the bi-weekly payments, you're not actually, when I was a kid, I thought that it actually applied to the principal, but it doesn't. You just get an extra payment out of it because you're doing it every 2 weeks. And you can refinance your current mortgage. This gets to the meat and potatoes. This is a very summarized class, so we're getting there. Oh, you guys have another warning. Things you need to know about what we're about to talk about. The only way this concept works is if you make more than you spend. If you spend more, you're going to screw your life up by doing this. So you have to start there. You have to figure out either how to go hustle a side job or sell some more houses or spend less money. Good job. You already got this part. You have to be really disciplined. If you already know that if you had a $25,000 credit card and you're going to max it, this also is not a concept for you. I can't teach everybody how to do this. My dad is not allowed to have this HELOC or any of these ideas. He would just go buy guns. He wouldn't work his way through it. Maybe some knives. The money that we're about to talk about is not free money. You're going to need equity in your house to take advantage of it. You do need a home equity line of credit, and you must have some time to manage your expenses. It is pretty magical once it starts to happen. And it's helpful if you have a credit card that earns you bonus points or cash back, things like that. For this, I'd say cash back. I'm so excited now. Mine earns travel points, so I can enjoy and appreciate the travel stuff. Another disclaimer. If I teach you how to do this, everybody raise the right hand and promise me you're not going to go buy a boat. You're going to work on your debt. I say this because this has happened, or side-by-side or a big fancy RV. Okay. Now, a couple other terms I just wanted to talk about. HELOC. Who in the room doesn't know when I say HELOC what that means? Don't feel bad if you don't know. It's a very educated group. Good. It's a home equity line of credit. Now, what we want to look at when we're talking about an equity line of credit, it's important it's always revolving. It's best if it's interest only, which sounds weird and not what you'd expect. But if you have 2 choices when you go to get one, the interest only will perform higher for you here than if there's a payment involved. Usually you have to have 20% of your equity. The good thing about HELOCs is they work like credit cards. If you have $50,000 available in your line of credit for your house, but you haven't spent any of it, how much is your monthly payment? 0. So it's never dangerous. And I recommend everybody has a HELOC on their house. You might as well have access to the money. It's your money. As long as you're not my dad, to go spend the money. But it's yours. And then you have options to do what you want to do with it. Okay, the difference between a 30-year loan and a line of credit. We already talked about it. revolving, but something we didn't talk about was simple interest. One thing we're going to talk about today is the difference between simple interest and amortized interest. Can anyone explain the concept of that? What makes them different?
So amortized interest is the interest is front loaded on the first several payments, whereas simple interest, you're just going to have straight principal and interest. It doesn't change. It's the same all the way through.
Yes. And it's calculated very simply. Was there some?
I was just going to say also, like when you pull out a loan on a mortgage, if you get a $700,000 mortgage, you're always paying interest on that opening mortgage amount, the $700,000. Whereas if you pay down a simple interest loan or HELOC, you're only paying what's actually left at the end of each day. So it's
the daily calculated interest. And that concept will change so much that we're going to talk about. So 30 years are fixed. They're amortized, and they are interest plus principal. And you guys have seen the big, long amortization charts, right? I have some of those in here for the people who really appreciate those. Now, I also, as we're just loading into the ideas and concepts, and I know you're like, I don't get it, because we're piecing together parts of this. But I want you to think about concepts before we jump into it. Now, the difference between a checking account and a credit card. Checking accounts are positive. They start at a zero balance and you add money into them, so they go up. Credit cards, they start at zero and you borrow money and you owe on them. Is everybody tracking with me? The difference between a credit card or a line of credit and a checking account. So, because we're going to do some crazy stuff here in a second. So when you deposit money, it will pay the debt down there. Okay. We want to change a little bit about the way we look at things. So right now, when we were taught this concept, I loved it, because when I saw Peter in the lobby, he's like, are you talking about the Australian banking system? Has anybody ever heard of that? Yeah. How your parents paid off their house. So on the Australian banking system, some people call it sweeping accounts, fast track banking. There's been a couple of different terms. But in Australia, the way that they operate money, and I'm almost even more nervous talking about it with like Peter in the room, because he totally gets it. He's like, I totally understand. The way that their loans work differently in Australia than here, what happens is they have all of their mortgages are tied to their checking accounts. So what takes place there is, as they deposit money into their account, it actually reduces what they owe on their mortgage, and they are only charged interest on what the mortgage amount is. So the more money they put into their account, the lower the balance goes, and they only have to pay what is like the interest on what's there. Totally different concept, which changes if our payment or our amount goes down, our payment is going to go down. Pretty interesting concept though, right? We don't do that here because we're capitalists, right? There's people who are out there making money. But that's where the idea behind it. We're going to just jump. Yes, we already talked about that concept. We'll go to the next one. Keep going. Keep going one further. Maybe. Nope, I'm going the wrong way, guys. Okay, now the problem is that's not the way our system works here. So we have to bolt it on. We have to create something to make that work, because we have no way to stick money into our mortgage. The reason we don't just put money on our mortgage, let's say you have a closing, you have an extra $10,000, you're not going to stick it on your mortgage, because then you don't have the money when you need it, right? You can't get the money back out. It's stuck in there. And what if your water heater goes out, or what if your kid needs diapers? You're stuck. You can't let that go in there. So we always keep it safe. We hold it in a savings account, and then the bank is always making, or the mortgage company is always making all that money. So what if there was a way that you could actually put that against your mortgage, so you weren't being charged as much on daily calculated interest, but you could get the money back out if an emergency happened? But in the meantime, all the money you're saving for your Hawaii trip could sit against your mortgage, and then when you needed it, you could pull it back out. So we actually have to bolt this on. So we have our traditional mortgage here. Then we're going to get a HELOC, an equity line of credit, and then we're going to have your checking account. Okay? Everybody tracking with me? We're all on pace. Now, the thing is your checking account has positive numbers. Your HELOC is like a credit card. It's going to need to have a negative number in it for us to make this work. And then we have our traditional mortgage. So for this concept to work, to make sure none of the money is sitting in your checking account and it's actually sitting against your debt, we're going to have to take and make a payment from our HELOC over to our mortgage. So let's say, and we'll do this in a minute, but I just want to help you guys work your way there. Let's say you start out with your HELOC balance is zero. You're going to take $10,000 from your HELOC and you're going to pay it on principal on your mortgage. Now this has a debt of $10,000. And let's say you have $5,000 in your checking account. You're going to shift that over and pay your HELOC off until you need it, and you can pull that money back out if you ever do. Now, what's cool about that is it's going to reduce the daily calculated interest. Now, I want to go through a scenario, and we're going to look at the difference between how simple interest is calculated versus amortized. Now, in this scenario, let's look at a $15,000 balance at a 7% interest rate for simple interest, okay? If we take that $15,000 times it by 7%, it's $1,050. Now that $1,050, we're going to divide it by 365 days so we can figure out how much is our daily calculated interest, because at the stroke of midnight, that's how they determine however much you owe. They're going to calculate what you owe in interest. So our average daily cost for interest is $2.88, which means for a month, essentially, you're going to be right around $90, okay? Now, we're going to do an actual scenario with a family. Little pictures up there, but this is meat and potatoes we're going to get into. So let's say we have a family. Maybe it's even Matt and I. Well, he's working at the city, I'm working at the restaurant, and each month we make $7,000, and our monthly expenses are $4,500. That's everything, all the money. Now, you got to count for all of the things you spend money on. If you stop it and pick up some gum, whatever you're spending your money on. So our total expenses are $4,500. Our mortgage is $300,000. I know that doesn't happen. Maybe we're living in a condo across the street. Our interest rate 6% on the scenario, and our monthly payment is $1,800. This is on our traditional 30-year mortgage. At this time, we don't have any money on our HELOC, and our HELOC interest rate is 7%. It is not unusual that HELOCs are going to be more than what the market is. However, HELOCs are calculated on simple interest. Okay. Now, we're going to shift over and we're going to say, what if we take $15,000 from our HELOC and we put it on our principal over here? Now, the debt hasn't changed. We still owe $300,000 both ways, okay? It's not free money. We still owe it. One is going to be on our HELOC. The other is going to be on our primary mortgage. Now, yes, that's what we just said. Now, this will just walk through the pieces of it. So our loan amount, $300,000. Our interest for the life of the loan is going to be $348,000. We'll pay a total of $648,000. Can you guys see the screen? Do we need to darken it? It looks good. Okay. Now, our monthly payment's $1,800 a month. When we get started, our principal is only about $300 a month. Our interest is about $1,500 a month. Now, after we have been paying our normal mortgage, after 45 months, we'll finally be paying on our principal $371 a month, and we'll have paid $15,000 down in principal. Now, and we've paid $66,000 in interest. So let's say on day one, instead, we take $15,000 and we pay it directly to principal off this loan. the coolest thing is we're going to jump the amortization chart down here. So let's see. Ooh, you guys. All right. So on a traditional mortgage, it would have taken you 45 months to pay that same $15,000 in principal, and you would have paid $66,000 in interest. Now, you still have to pay your line of credit. So if you paid your line of credit at $90 a month, because we did that math earlier, for 30 years, your payment still would only be $32,000 that you'll have paid. You could pay that same payment for 61 years and be even. Does that make sense? Is everybody kind of tracking with what I'm trying to say there? So let's just say we do that and we decide to come down here and have $15,000 that we can put down at the very beginning of our loan. We're going to jump it clear down there. Now, the secret is you're not going to take 66 years or whatever to pay off that $15,000, because we just said we're going to take everything that's in our checking account, we're going to shove it against our home equity line of credit to reduce what we're paying. And every month, remember how you have to make more than you spend. All the little bits and pieces you're not spending is sitting against your debt. So that budget that you have for Christmas, if you budget $100 a month, so you have $1,200 at Christmas, that's all sitting against the debt the whole time. Every day is reducing your daily calculated interest. And what happens too is you kind of get excited. So you'll see movement on it and you'll be like, oh man, I moved $15,000 over, but I'm now down to zero on my HELOC. I actually have to go spend money, but you spend money and move it over to the primary mortgage. Okay, so let's just run through the scenario. So I don't think I explained it very well, so I just want to make sure you guys know. You don't have very much money in your checking account ever. Like, my net worth might be about $4 million right now, and I have like $100 in my checking account. We're so cash poor. I don't have any cash available most of the time. It's all sitting against debt all of the time. So be careful though. That's why you have to have time to manage this, because you miss one of the payments of moving money back and forth, you just lost $50 on your late fee. So be careful. That's why Matt's in charge of that stuff. I'm not in charge of that stuff. Okay, so let's say our $15,000 balance, this is what we owe on our HELOC. And let's say we get and you can see our daily calculated interest is $2.88. So on the 4th, we get paid $3,500. So it reduces what we owe. It comes into our checking account. We move it against the HELOC and make a payment. Everything from our paycheck is going to go against the debt. We're not going to leave much in I say $100. It's probably more like $500 now that sits in there, but just about everything gets moved over to pay off as much of the HELOC as we can. Then on the 6th of the month, our mortgage payment is due, and it's $1,800. So we have to take $1,800 from the HELOC, move it back to our checking account, and pay the mortgage with that. Everybody tracking with that? So then, instead of $2.21, we're now up to $2.55 per day. Then we keep going through our days. You can see what's happening. Then on the 20th, my husband gets paid. He gets $3,500, so we move that right over to our HELOC as well. Now we're down to a $189 per day. So this is kind of like a video game. Like, that's the way you have to play this. Next, you're going to go to the credit card payment, because the other secret is you're going to use your credit card for everything that is happening all month long, so that you can also delay how long it takes before you have to pay it. Because wouldn't you want to keep your money against the debt if you know that you're making as much as you possibly can? Now, you got to be able to pay it off completely, because you don't want to have to pay the interest, right? But we just swipe, and then make one payment for my credit card bill. So we started the month owing $15,000. Now we're down to the end of the month basically owing $12,500. This is month 1. Now month 2 turns around. So we've already paid off $2,500 in principal though. How many years did it take you or how long did it take you to pay $2,500 off in principal is almost your whole first year of making your mortgage payments, and you're already ahead of it in the first 30 days. And you've only paid $75 in interest. Crazy. So now month 2 starts, the same thing happens, right? On the 5th I get paid, we deposit the $3,500 in, then we got to make sure we make our mortgage payment the next day of $1,800. And then we go about our day. My husband gets paid on the 20th, $3,500 gets deposited. Again, deposit in the checking account, sweep it over against the home equity line of credit, okay? And you just keep going. And at the end of the month, we're down to only owing $10,000 on that. We've paid off $5,000 on the on your mortgage. Now we go, and second month we only paid $54 in interest. Huge difference. Do you guys remember how much interest was on that first payment every month? Does anyone remember that number?
Like
90 for the line of credit. On the $1,500 for your first payment. $300 went to principal. $1,500 went to interest. We're paying $54 in interest here. So ridiculously less. Now we're still into the third month. We get paid again. We're down to only $1.27 for interest that day because they're going to charge it every day at midnight. We make our mortgage payment again. We just keep shifting that money. And it's not a ton of shifting, but you do got to make sure that you've got it scheduled. Now, at the end of the third month, we are down to, oh, hang on, we're going to go one more, I think. We're now down $7,700 on principal. We've only paid $45 in interest this month. And so this is our new HELOC balance, $7,600. We've paid half of it off. Now the fourth month, the same thing. This is kind of boring. This is boring and consistent. Wins the race. Everything you can that does not charge you. If they're going to charge you a fee, you don't want to do it. But everything you possibly can, your Comcast, your utilities, your phone, your groceries, your gas, your school fees, your swig. Yep. This is all of the expenses. I mean, you could do it a lot of different ways if there's multiple entries of what that looks like. Ours looks a little messier because I think we have 9 mortgages. So our in and out looks a little different. We kind of have our business side and then we have our personal side. We'll get into that in a second because I'm going to show you.
Just one little strategy on credit cards as well. Does anybody in here have like multiple credit cards that you use? Especially when you're using it for points, strategies that way. So 2 things that you want to know is what's called the like interest-free float period. Meaning if I had a statement that just reset, if I start making a charge on that today, I'm roughly saving money for about 60 days. I don't actually have to pay that to the bank. Now, even if I have that cash, it's better to sit in this debt and have 60 days where it's paying this interest down, where I'm getting interest-free on the credit card. And then just a little advanced strategies, you can upload all that stuff into ChatGPT and have it remember. So for me, whenever I do a big purchase, if I'm doing a $10,000 or $15,000 purchase, I'll ask ChatGPT which one has the longest float period right now. And it'll tell me use this credit card for this expense because you'll get 60 days until you have to pay that card off.
So you have multiple credit cards?
I probably have 10 to 15, yeah. For the point strategy. Like my flights are free, my hotels are free, I get upgrades for everything, but I'm never holding a balance, a true balance. I never go into that interest timeline because I'm paying it off before the interest actually hits.
And you didn't start with 15, you started with 1, right?
Yeah, I started with 1. I've been doing this for probably 7 years, so I built up, get a couple every year for my business.
And we would only do a cash one, but then the money would disappear. And I really did want to travel. And I was like, well, if you're not going to give me the cash and put it in an envelope or an account, I'm never going to get to go do these fun things. So he was so good because I'm on Amex now. And so it just, most everything we do just gets pushed through there. And the cash one probably gave us more money, but I don't know if I get to see it. Yeah, good.
Because I don't actually understand this. With the amortization schedule on your 30-year mortgage, have you said that if you pay an extra $10,000 in principal, then wherever your principal that's owed is at, then that's what it jumps to.
Yes.
I just guess I have my brain needs to catch up.
Right?
On that. Yeah.
It's so crazy when you really think about it.
Yeah. Right.
So your payment will always remain the same, but if you've now paid $15,000 in principal, you go down to where that your new balance that you have, what you owe on it, that's where you're at on the amortization chart.
All of the interest payments for everything above that.
So it's like recasting, but just monthly.
No, because recasting. Sorry, go ahead. You were.
I was going to say, in an easy term, is when you first pull out that mortgage, you might be paying 80-20. I'm just giving a rough. 80% towards interest, 20% towards your principal. Yeah. When you do this, it's skewing that number. So you might be paying 65% towards your interest, and you're getting the other 35% towards your principal. So your monthly payment is staying the exact same.
Of course.
But more of it's going towards your principal. You're jumping that cycle.
But this is what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, because it's so hard to talk about these things because, like, it's hard for our brains to hear numbers, I think, a lot of times. But basically, it's like, okay, if I am making the minimum monthly payment for the first 5 years versus I have cash from somewhere, from a HELOC, from whatever, however I set this up, I'm going to put a payment that reduces how much I owe on the principal. Within the first year, I do that. And now I only owe on the principal what the original amortization schedule said I would owe starting the 5th year. So you skip all of the interest payments between, like, for years 2, 3, and 4. Am I understanding?
Yes, you move down to wherever it is on that chart. That they print it for you. You don't always realize it's in your closing docs. You can take that, and wherever you are sitting on what you owe, that is now where you begin. All that interest up there
is gone. So would that same principles work if you owned your home for 10 years?
Yes, but you are 10 years into your amortization chart. So you have to pull that amortization chart out, take a look at it, and go, if I do this, this is what happens. Your biggest bang for your buck is at the very beginning. You know, when they tell you have 45 days till you have to make your first payment, that's junk. You should go do it right now. Tell those clients to make that first payment immediately and think of what that happens if they go and just make that payment and just start right now, what that would do for their loan.
2 questions. So I know the HELOC, you said it's just $15,000. Let's say you pay it off. I know you've shown it in
We're getting close. We're on the 4th month and we're down to $5,100.
But do you take out another HELOC after you finish paying off that HELOC?
No, because it's a revolving line of credit. So it's like a credit card. When you get it paid off, it is yours to do whatever you want with.
Okay.
No boats, no guns.
I see what you're saying.
Good, not evil.
Second question.
Yes.
Let's say you have no equity. Like, for example, I'm buying my first property this year, and I'm going to use, like, ADU or some kind of other investment income to leverage the property and qualify and to obviously stack more income in. I wonder if I put that income in a HELOC. Maybe I just open one up even though I have no equity, and I just put money in it.
So,
I'm curious if you have any ideas before you have the equity established.
Mountain America Credit Union has, or had, I don't know if they do today, higher ability to get HELOCs, because typically they'll usually only loan 80% of the value. They'll go clear up.
If you add an appraisal, they limit it. It's based on some automatic desktop valuation. If you get an appraisal, they'll lend you quite a lot more.
And if you haven't bought the property yet, we're going to talk about another option. So, and the other side is, they will do, they used to do up to 100% of the value. Your interest rate's a little bit higher, still could be worth it. Again, that was my father-in-law. He can't do it either. I'm like selling guns now for him. So, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to clarify, would you take out as much as possible for your HELOC?
Yes.
Then
it's yours. Now, that's an important thing. It has to be revolving. You can't, some people will take out a second mortgage. That is taking all the equity, and then you have to pay for all that equity. So it's super important that it's revolving and you're not actually taking it out. You don't want to be charged unless you're utilizing it. But get as much as you can. it's yours. And go back in and have them reevaluated. There's a lot of people who aren't doing them anymore. Chase is not allowing them. I don't know if but there's some that have just closed down HELOCs. But Mountain America is a great option for them. They're probably the easiest and simplest. That I do recommend if you can try to stick with wherever you bank, because you're going to be doing a lot of online transfers. So keeping that simple is better for you. Yeah.
So as far as like if you had $200,000 in a HELOC, and would you want to just use a small portion of that?
A little portion, because there's a sweet spot. We really find that it's usually you want to be able to pay it down within 3 or 4 months for a couple of reasons. Once you can learn how the process works and it doesn't hurt you anyways, right? That $15,000 did a huge impact on that loan. And it will, some people say you should take the whole HELOC, move it over and do it that way. I don't think it benefits you. I would do it as small. And even for me, when you first start, I'd say start with 3,000 and see how it goes. It'll depend on how much money you have coming in and going out. So sometimes we're cash heavy business here, so a lot of money will flow in. So you might do more than that, but I'd say we started with 5,000 when we started doing ours, and we started it also with consumer debt first. So our cars and other things, we paid those off first, and took the HELOC to pay off the car, and then worked to pay that debt down, right? And the big reason we did that is because that gives us more cash. You know, a $400 or $500 payment now is gone on that, and it gives us more cash that will make a difference. There's a question this way. Yeah.
I was actually going to ask, for those who do have balance on their credit cards and stuff, does this actually work for that?
Oh, like getting that all paid off? Yeah. So you can sit down. When I told you I would come home and he'd have all of these numbers written out in napkins and notebooks, it's because he was calculating and doing these numbers to figure out by hand which one would get paid first, which one was better. Sometimes credit cards aren't always the best because your minimum payments are so minimal. They work a lot like HELOCs. What we just saw is how much money you can borrow with very little cost. And so your impact on your car sometimes will actually be what you go for first, because it's amortized. It's a fixed debt.
The only thing I'd say about credit cards is the interest rates are substantially higher usually. And so the HELOC versus credit card, if the interest rate's the same, that doesn't matter. But I think if the interest rate on the credit card is substantially higher, then using HELOC makes sense.
And each person's situation is so different, but like working through different pieces, getting rid of consumer debt in general, like this would getting a handle on that is helpful. Yeah.
And then I think I heard you mention you have 9 mortgages and you use the credit cards for this. So how do you maintain the strong credit score with the bureaus if you're utilizing the credit card so high? You see what I mean? The question.
They don't carry balances.
Yeah, and if they're business credit cards, most of them do not report to the bureaus. If they're a business credit card, personal credit cards do. And it's also, they're not reporting if you're not going beyond that payment period.
So I hear that. There are business credit bureaus that business credit cards are reported to for the credit profile of the entity itself rather than the individual. Are these mortgages in your personal name, or are they in your business, like LLC's name?
That's a whole structure. I feel like that was last month's meeting.
Well, I just mean, because that's not my question. My question is just the way, in part, a credit score works is that when you have a line of credit, like a credit card, let's say it maxes out at 10 grand. If you're maxing that out every month and it's getting reported, I'm not talking about
so it doesn't get reported because it's paid off, is what we're saying. Is it never cycles
because of how you schedule it.
It never hits because it's paid before it cycles. Good question.
Okay. So, I got you now. I just wanted to double check that.
There's also a couple of other things you can do. If you have a credit card at $10,000, and for whatever reason the statement balance gets reported, because sometimes the statement balance gets reported and it's not past the time period where you're charged interest, right? That could affect your credit score. because the utilization is up.
Right.
So there's a couple ways to fix that. One, either pay it off first, or
Which is what
have,
you were saying.
or have a lot more higher credit. So for instance, if you max it out at 10,000, but you have 10, 15 other credit cards that are each at 10,000, all of a sudden that's only an 8% utilization, which is still excellent.
Oh, is that how it reads? It is not.
It takes the
It's the
one
entire
card.
portfolio.
Takes the
Okay.
one card to your entire credit line of all your credit cards.
Okay.
So if you have a 150,000 credit line and you have like 10 grand on one credit card, it's only like, I don't even know the math on that, but it's less than 10%, which is excellent.
I really appreciate the explanations. Thank you.
And this is why we got to look at each other and do it together. There's so much value in this. Okay, so we just got done with the 4th month. I'm gonna just blow through this because we got to make sure we hit down to where we are. We're on 5th month now. Same thing. We get paid twice a month. We're depositing it twice a month. We're making our mortgage payment and we're making our payments like our credit card payment. We're calling that, right? But now we are down to, we got paid in the 5th month. We deposited our check. Our balance is down to $993. We started with $15,000 and now we only owe $10. The problem is, you remember how if we don't owe something, if I get paid again, I can't shift my paycheck in there. I can't put money on a credit card, on a line of credit. It has to have debt. So then you go back and do it again. You take another $15,000 and move it over. And again, depending on who you are, if you already know you have consumer debt problems, tendencies. I was like, we all have addictions, but whatever that is, right? If you already know that you're susceptible to this, be really, really careful. This is why I say you can't go buy a boat, because I've taught my friends how to do this, and all of a sudden there's an RV and they're driving. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Well, we had $40,000 on the line of credit. Isn't it so nice? And I'm like, oh, wah, wah, wah. Yeah, it makes me so sad. So.
You got to be trained to play with it.
Yes! Tender, you have to be frugal. I trust you with this. Okay, so we are now down to the 5th month. And I'm hoping it goes back to, it's going to tell us we're going to do it all again. Yes, see how exciting that slide is? Okay, now I want to compare what we just talked about, and we may need to go back to the amortization chart, which tells me I should put another slide in for next time right here if it's not there, because you guys have to see it again with new eyes, with new concept. So on the first one, traditional mortgage, this is where we would have sat. After we did it using the HELOC, your total paid $81,000, total paid $15,000, $225. It's huge. It changes the way you see it.
Is this where we're supposed to gasp?
I'm in shock. I am like 39. Yeah, I'm in shock.
I should, huh? So I'm gonna see if I'm gonna go back, because you guys have to see it now, because that amortization chart, I'm so sorry. Oh, look at you. No, perfect. We want to just go back to, nope, down further. Down further, these guys. So now this is just an amortization chart that we're looking at here. You guys all have them. And this is what's so cool. So like, let's say your investor, well, like on our most recent property. So instead of, we were going to put 50% down because we needed to make a cash flow and we had the funds to do it. We were moving stuff out of another investment. But instead of putting all 50% down up front, do you think we did that? No, we put 25% down and then on day one dropped the rest of it and just like jumped the whole chart. The reason this matters for investors is because it might not cash flow today. However, you guys know the 4 quadrants, right? How do you make money on an investment property? What are the 4 ways? Cash flow, which doesn't exist in our world today. Taxes, appreciation, and what's the last one? Debt reduction. Can you imagine, and now you know why, can you imagine what takes place all of a sudden, things you don't realize, you're still not cash flowing, but instead of $298 going to principal every month in your savings account, your forced savings account, you're down here on the amortization chart. So we work on each property. Our goal is break even. We work on each property till we're at least making as much in our principal buy down as we are paying in interest. Once we hit that spot, we go to the next one. We don't make any more cash flow every month. I don't have any more money in my account, but I'm slowly chugging away. And what's happening is hundreds of dollars a month more are going into our equity than they would be if we didn't do it that way. Does that make sense? So that I'm going to retire one day. It's on the plan. Okay.
So your goal is to pay those off, so that then you live off of that, or off of the. That's
give or take, yes. So we have 2 properties that are paid off that do cash flow, and I have another one that that's close. So, and it's like we're just it's a game. We're just chasing those numbers. It's healthy for my husband. It's healthy. I want to go to Hawaii, but
When did you guys pick up your first rental?
2012.
So just over 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was probably, if we start to really look at when we started to really grow, 5 years ago, 2020. 2020, we took and sold. We had bought condos. That's what we could afford. So we bought condos. We ended up selling the condos, taking the equity from the condos and leveraging that into the fourplexes. And then we leveraged in the same thing. My home was paid off. And when interest rates were good, I took the equity out of the home and I leveraged into the duplexes. So it was good timing. Yes.
So what happens if your car actually does die and you suddenly need to buy a new car?
Good question. Buy a cheap one. Be smart with what you're doing, right? You can tell I have all Hyundais. I have Santa Fe sisters. They're so cute. Okay. Yeah. Like, it's in my garage is so cute. You're like, oh, they're twins. You would use your HELOC. You don't have to. I think you could, depends on what kind of loan you could get, what it looked like, if it made sense. But we became our own bank. So once we got it all paid off, we paid the HELOC off, right? That's actually, so we started this to pay our house off. We did the HELOC back and forth, and got to where we're pretty good, but we were trying to get rid of taxes, right? So we took our HELOC, which was $50,000. That was we took that. It was our first down payment on our first rental property. We took that $50,000 and then did the same thing. 50 was harder to pay off than 10 every month. And we had to own that debt. So everything we did was about paying that debt down until it was down to 0 again. And we were really careful back then, because before we were spending a lot of money, but we could see the process. We were like, oh my gosh, so sorry. We didn't need this chart. Yeah, we got to jump down to, we saw the progress we were making here. And all of a sudden it was like my husband stopped going out for lunch. He'd bring his lunch and we were tracking, it was crazy to watch us be able to be like, we just paid $50,000 off when everybody else is out partying on the weekend. And I'm like, I think I can spend 25 cents for oatmeal in the morning if we do this. And we got really close and tight because we were both chasing the same dream. And to just be average Joes paying off 50 grand in a year was so cool. It was really cool to watch it happen. Now, we talked about, this is if you have to do it with the HELOC, right? There's another way. How much time do we have? We're down to not much time, huh? Okay. We still have to jump this. Now, in general, if you use the concept, you should be able to get the house paid off in 8.5 years. That's without eating oatmeal and being super careful. That is just doing the exact same thing you normally would do. The same money, just moving it that way. Now, there's a product. We were teaching this class and I was advertising it online, and I had a lender reach out to me and be like, you know that we actually have this product. It exists. You don't have to do it this hard way, right? And it's called, so it's with CMG. A couple of things about this loan, and I'll get to her contact information. It performs like a HELOC. This loan is called an all-in-one loan. And instead of having them bolted on, you have your primary mortgage and a checking account that is attached. The money you deposit into the checking account actually reduces the daily calculated interest. This loan is based off simple interest. So they will charge you every night at the stroke of midnight, depending on how much you owe, and it's going to be on simple interest. It is a higher interest rate. It's designed for people who have positive cash flow. They have a 700 credit score. They can get these at least from 6 months ago, or 3 months ago. You can do it on a primary mortgage. You can do it for an investment property, and you can do it for a second home. And it's the same kind of a loan. Let me see if I have anything more on it. No, I don't. We'll come back here. Maybe. It's kind of the same. Now, North Point. It's associated with CMG. They've had 0 people default on this loan. And what it looks like is you do have to put more money down. You can do a primary mortgage. You can do it with 10% down. And when you do that, what happens is as you pay that debt down, it acts just like a HELOC would. You have access to that money and you can do whatever you want with it. You can go buy other investment properties. You can, whatever it is. So as your money goes into your checking account and it is going down and down and down, then you have access. It's the same concept, but it's all in one. It's not having to move it out of a HELOC and back in a HELOC. It does take a little bit longer. When the money moves out of the HELOC, we have it instantly, almost, in between banks. With this, my husband's like, it takes 3 days. They're charging me interest for 3 days. It's so mad about it. It is also an interest-only loan. So how this operates means that it's interest only. So every night they charge you interest only on the balance. And you go, well, how am I ever going to pay it off? Well, what's happening is all of your deposits that go in your checking account are principal pay downs. So as your principal goes down, your minimum interest only loan is going to go down. So every month your payment goes down lower and lower and lower. So we got one, it'll be 2 years in August that we got our first all-in-one loan. That one is one of the ones that's paid off. And then we took it and used the same concept because you can use it for anything. It acts like a HELOC. So all of our properties that are in that LLC can have money move in between, right? Because you also have the entity issues that you don't want to take money from your personal house and mix it over here with your business. So that's like a whole different class on entities. But and so then the same thing, we take money out of that account and we shove it against the other townhouse until it gets down to where we paid those off because we wanted the cash flow from them. I don't know how long we'll own those as we're just moving a lot of our investments around right now. So ahas and action steps. But so you have to hear something 6 times to retain it at 75%. So when you share something you learned today that you went, and you share it with somebody else, it's going to help you retain the information, but it also helps somebody who's in the room. And it also helps me know that my time here was worthwhile. So I need ahas, and we have to rapid fire because we're close.
Super quick.
Yes.
All right. So.
Oh, it's 12:07. Sorry, guys.
An amortization schedule is a lookup table. And if you owe this much principal, then you go down to where it says you owe that much principal, and then you go over and you're like, oh, that's what my interest principal split payment this month is.
Yes, and if you do nothing more from that point on, you can go, oh, I went down to year 12. I just cut 8 years off of my loan by choosing to do that.
That made it very simple. I'm very grateful. I'm very glad I
came. Good aha. Who else?
Yeah.
Time for me to go get a couple HELOCs.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like how to use HELOCs. This sounds like the best way that I
just be disciplined with it.
Yeah,
no boats.
Yeah.
I don't need a boat.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, a friend with a boat.
More about how you automate it. or is there a way to automate it? Because you're talking about like
Moving.
on top,
A lot of the stuff is, so my husband has just a calendar on his desk, like a big one, and he just writes where payments are due, and he sits down every day and just checks.
Okay.
So a lot of things you can automate though that are going to come out of the accounts. You just have to make sure there's enough money in there for that to happen. And it does take time. But if you're not the person who's going to do that, then don't also. Like that's the other side. That's why we have those partners where I'm like, that's totally not my superpower. I will go make money and he can go help figure out how to put it to good use. Did you have something?
It's also a benefit of putting it on credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
You just know when's the credit card payment due. You don't have to worry about when's your electric bill due, when's your gas bill due, when's your internet due. It's just,
and we only ever had one card. And even now, most of my business is all on one card. Most of we have all of our, like most of that's on one card. So we don't have a ton that way, but he has a lot of mortgages. But the mortgages now, he just has them taken out of the all-in-one checking account because they're all in that group. So it comes out, the rents go into that account. So that works really well for the investments because all extra rent is going against the debt and is paying that down. And it's just this quiet, like behind the scenes multiplier.
There's an app really quick.
Yeah.
Sequence to do what she's talking about.
Sequence?
There you go.
That
Thank you. That's the mastermind part.
You can schedule it. You can put it by amount. Say only pull out X. You have to program it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you
What's it called?
Sequence.
Sequence. That's good. Sequence. Any other ahas?
I was just gonna ask, did you come up with this on your own, or did you learn it from other places?
Ron Karen is who we paid to teach us. Ron Karen, and it was a lot of years ago. He kind of went off the deep end. You can Google it though, and you can watch lots of videos on it. So some of the YouTube videos will say take the entire HELOC and move it over. But you can watch a ton. You can look up fast track banking, Australian banking system. There was another one we just said.
Velocity banking?
Yeah, probably.
There used to be a product and they no longer offered it, but it was tied to the LIBOR. But they no longer offered it.
now,
And if you didn't write her stuff down, if you scan that, should go to her website. If you go to the website here, I just realized too, they have calculators on there. So you can put your scenario in and it'll tell you how long. And if you change the scenario, so if you like the scenario part, her website's really great for that. And I didn't want it necessarily to be about, like, I knew we didn't have so much time here, but she's worth connecting with and anyone with the CMG. That if somebody else says they offer this product, they're brokering it and making more money. Your best interest rate will be if you go directly with CMG. Cool. Then if we don't have any more ahas, any other ahas, you're helping your fellow humans. Okay. Then we have to go, the last one is action steps. So y'all sat here today and we had a conversation. If there was one thing you could do after you walked out of this room that would make, like, what's your start? What's your step? What are you committing to that this time that you spent here wasn't just entertainment?
Against my perfect will, I guess. Like, I did give in. My husband bought a big old truck. And in December, we need it for a tax write-off, right? So, but he has a bill with that truck right now. And we were debt free except for our real estate. So I'm going to go back and make him pull that amortization chart and take a look and see if maybe we want to do
something like that. That's cool. Good action. Yes. Action steps.
create an Excel spreadsheet on what that's going to look like for the different investment properties we have.
Awesome. So good. Yes.
I'm going to tie up my husband and make him watch the video.
It really was recorded, huh? Oh. I sent it our recording of our class that goes into it a little bit deeper on the productivity chat. So if you watch that, the screen is really good because it was one we did on Zoom, so it's a better recording of the concept. And my husband's on that class, so we're a good balance for each other. So that's a good class. That's what I'd have him watch.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
you guys have any like calculators or spreadsheets or anything that you're willing to share?
I'll ask him, see what he has. I feel like we used a lot of this class, so a lot of it I just reuse instead of having to do new calculations. Every time I go to sit down to do new ones, I'm like, it's kind of all the same, like not where I want to put energy. But let me ask him, because I think he probably has, if I had to guess, he may have old spreadsheets on how to make it work. But her website will give you very similar. So that's a good one with tools.
That's like a perfect use case for your $20 a month like AI tool. Because it's nice to see the spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet is just a way to visualize the information you're looking for, and it's running code in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas your AI tool is the exact same thing. It's just like
front facing
you're looking for, and it'll run the spreadsheet in the background. So you can do spreadsheet, but it's like saving you.
There's a caveat with that.
Oh, what is that?
So AI is a learning machine.
Uh-huh.
It reads like a book. You gotta know how to do it right if you're using AI, meaning you gotta have some kind of code interacting, doing calculations. So if you're doing calculations with AI, my personal opinion is it probably won't do it correctly.
Oh, well, that's if you use ChatGPT, but if you use Claude, Gemini from Google, yeah.
Awesome.
Just be cautious.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a conversation with your spouse or your partner. You have to have both people on board, and usually you have a spender and a saver. So take some time to get together with your partner so you can chase the same goal.
No matter how much equity you have, or if you say just do it as soon as you can.
Do it as soon as you can. Even if you can't do a HELOC, if you can even pay an extra $100 on your first payment, what did that do? Even your clients, if literally you probably saw in the amortization chart, month 2, you only got $1 more towards principal. So every dollar, literally every dollar you put in on principal at the beginning is majorly impactful for those young kids, or for us. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. This was a fun class.
So one thing I want to just highlight, one, Angie, thank you for the intentionality that you put into building this class. How many of you want to sell more real estate this year? Yeah. Okay. As a method to going and building more of the wealth side of your life, right? One of the recommendations that I have is the fastest way to learn something is teaching it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may not feel comfortable, like Angie said as well, you have to hear something 6 times to really feel comfortable with it. So what I would recommend is, I know you've done phenomenal with this, is you hold classes for your sphere of influence, and that's where a lot of your business comes from, not just on the investment side, but also educating them in other different ways. I would just teach this simple 4 quadrants. Most of your database do not know how real estate is a great investment that they should have as part of their portfolio. And so just teaching this, which if you don't have the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, that's the one I would buy, where it outlines this. And it helps you to really understand it. Go teach this because it's a very simple conversation, but you'll get more clients out of it. Even people who are not going to invest with you right now, they might say, I need to make a move or buy or sell or whatever the case might be, but I would like to invest down the road, and thank you for giving me a roadmap to it. So that's the one recommendation is go implement this by teaching it, having this strategy in the back of your mind until you get comfortable with teaching something that's a little bit more elevated like this.
And the all-in-one loan did close 2 investors for me this past year. Like they wouldn't have bought, and they bought because of the loan. So I think even that it puts you in conversation with investors like, hey, I know it's hard to cash flow right now. I think it's worth us taking a look at this and seeing if it's something that would make sense for you. So just another good tool. Thanks, guys. It was so fun.
See you next class.
Thank you.